بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Just before I start, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me loud and clear. Just yes in the chat box or a thumbs up would be great, inshallah. Excellent, jazakumullah khair. First of all, welcome to this session. We called it Get It Right, Visioning Leadership for the ISOC. And this specifically, we wanted this for the new ISOC committee, just to help them, give them ideas, give them sort of the core foundations or the fundamentals of how to go about planning the year, and then also just some tips in terms of leadership, in terms of the importance of setting a vision, objectives, inshallah, which will help you throughout the year. So first of all, myself, my name is Adil Salim. I'm one of the imams here at GLM. I'm also a Muslim chaplain at the University of Birmingham. I've studied Islam formally overseas. And so this session, the way I want to do it is I want to talk from experience. So myself, I've been through the whole university cycle here. I was the president of Aston University 15 years ago. And I was saying 15 years ago, that sounds like a long time ago, but it seems like yesterday. So, you know, I want to make this a practical session. You know, I'll give you, elements of theory, but then I really want you guys to talk, communicate, take part in this session, inshallah. So before I start, what do you guys want from this workshop, or what do you think that this workshop is going to give you? So yeah, in the chat box, or if somebody wants to, unmute themselves, feel free to talk. Give us the correct vision and aims we should have for our ISA. Excellent. That's a really good point, and I'm glad the first person has mentioned it. So I'm not going to give you your correct vision and your correct aim. That's for you to decide. But what this workshop is going to do is to give you the importance of setting a vision, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. Does that make sense? So I'm not going to say to you, this year, this is what your vision should be, and this is what your aims should be, and this is what your year plan should be. That's not my place. That's for you as the ISOC committee to come up with that plan. But this workshop is going to give you the importance of a vision, the objectives, creating a plan, how to do it. I'll tell you how to do it, but ultimately, that's for you as an ISOC committee to come up with. Okay, tips and tricks on organization, correct continue, excellent, good, that will be covered. Tips to ensure sincerity in our actions, excellent, good, that will be touched upon. Key traits, good, excellent. So it's all of that. It's all of that, inshallah. It's all of that, inshallah. And again, look, my plan is to do this in 90 minutes, inshallah. So let's make a start. I want to share my screen. Inshallah, let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Sorry, just for a minute. Okay, I can't see the comments, so I assume you can see my screen. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to the comments. so I can see if you can see my screen. Just put a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Can you see the PowerPoint presentation?
I can see it, Ustad.
Say it again, sorry, you can?
Yeah, we can see it.
Excellent. Jazakallah khair, Muhammad. Jazakallah khair, Muhammad. Okay. So, inshallah, just before we start, also, so let me just unshare my screen. There's 26 of us here. I know we're from different universities, so I just want to show Loughborough University. Do you have Loughborough University here? Just a yes in the comments box is fine.
Yes, we do. Alhamdulillah, we do.
Who was that, sorry?
Isa from Loughborough University.
Isa, Jazakallah khair, Isa. Plymouth, do you have someone from Plymouth? Plymouth University, okay, no. I'm just reading out the list that Sister Nasib sent me. Westminster University, anyone from Westminster? Just a yes in the comments box. Excellent. Mahdi, excellent. Sister Latifa, excellent. You guys are from Westminster. Glasgow, anyone from Glasgow University? Yes, Sister Jawaria, welcome. Bristol. Muhammad, you're from Bristol, right?
No, Exeter.
Exeter, sorry.
I'm from Bristol.
Assalamu alaikum. Who was that, sorry? I didn't.
I'm Abdurrahman.
Abdurrahman. Bristol, excellent. Barts, you have someone from Barts University here? Yes, Hafsa, Jazakallah khair. Exeter, yes, we know Exeter's here. Warwick University? Warwick here. Amir, mashallah. Excellent, you were one of the first people here. Okay, good, excellent, alhamdulillah. That's the introductions then. Good, so alhamdulillah, we have a good 7 ISOCs here. Let me just share my screen again and then we'll get started. Good, okay. So, good, so let's start. InshaAllah, Bismillah. So I'm going to be presenting and for some reason I can't see the comments as I'm talking. So what we'll do is I'll present and then after each session or after each session we'll just take a pause and open up questions or anything else, inshallah. So let me just put this on full screen. So inshallah, this session there's essentially 3 key areas that I want to go through. There's the first area, so each area inshallah should be 30 minutes. That's the plan. Let's see how it goes. So the first session or the first area that I want to focus on is vision, strategy, and creating a plan. So essentially talking about what's a vision, how to develop that vision, and putting that vision into action. So in this section, I'll give practical tips of how we do this. So that's the first sort of area that we'll cover, or the first session. The second is leadership. General leadership traits from the Sunnah, and then also in particular ISOC leadership traits, because dealing with the ISOC and being involved with the ISOC, there's general leadership traits which you need, but then there are also particular traits that you need, which again will go into detail. And then the third element is essential character traits for the ISOC committee member. So not everybody will be in. I assume everybody is in a leadership role, which is fine, which is good. But then there's also character traits for you as an ISOC committee member, whether you're the head of a department, you're the head of an area, you're the vice, in a particular area. So those are areas that we will be covering, inshallah. And like I said, I will give you the Islamic background and the points behind it, and even visioning from a management perspective. But really, I want to talk, or I want to give you. This is don't see this as something which is from a book, or I'm reading from a book, or I'm taking these things from a book, or it's very practical and hands-on, and I'm drawing from my experiences and also from what I've seen, having been involved in the whole university scene for the last 15, I guess 20 years now. So it's the session will be, again, it's a lot of practical advice, but at the same time, touching upon, what our religion and what our deen tells us about these particular things, inshallah. So don't see this as an Islamic lecture. Don't see this as a lecture. I want to try to make it as interactive as possible. And I've incorporated a few things into the presentation to get your input, also, and your ideas and your thoughts, inshallah. So this is generally the contents of the presentation, inshallah. So good. So part one, the first part is vision. What's a vision? What is a vision? So inshallah, what I want you guys to do is, can you please, all of you, I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste something into the, sorry, 1 minute. I'm going to try this. It's the first time I've used Slido, so please bear with me. It's a good way of interacting with you guys online. So let me, here it is. Okay. Okay, let me stop sharing for 1 minute. Let me stop sharing. Okay. Okay. Can you guys see that app, that link in the chat feature? Yeah, if you can click on that. If you can click on that. Excellent. So there's 14 participants that have joined. There's how many people in this room? There's 24 people in this room. Yeah, let's get to 20. So if everyone can join, or if everyone can click on that link, inshallah, if everyone can click on that link, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you some questions just to get your thoughts and ideas, and if you can do it through that link. Excellent. 20 people have joined. Good. Excellent. So now I'm going to let me go back now. Let me try this. Okay. Sorry, that's the wrong question. Let me stop that. Let me stop that. Let me stop that. Okay, reset. Let me put the right question up. This is the first. Okay. What should a vision be motivated by? What should a vision? So this is the first question. What should a vision be motivated by? You can choose more than one. Excellent. Good. So good. So people are saying seeking Allah's pleasure, earning His reward. Good. 17 people. Good. Okay. Excellent. That is. Let me go back onto this slide. Okay. Good. So that's essentially 20 people. Yeah. Everybody said seeking Allah's pleasure, earning His reward. Nobody said that a vision should be motivated by ego or making it dunya centric, which again I'll come on to. Good. Excellent. So look, you guys know that a vision ultimately, as Muslims, when we peel everything away, we say, why are we here? Why are we doing what we do? Ultimately, is to seek Allah's pleasure. Why are we part of the ISOC? We could be studying, focusing. Obviously, we're here to study and focus on our studies, but we could be doing other things at university. We don't have to be involved with the ISOC. So our vision is to seek Allah's pleasure and to earn His reward. Excellent. Good. Okay. So that's essentially, so a vision is how and where you see yourself, the organization, or the world in the future. Okay, so you as an ISOC, where do you see yourself as an individual and as an organization? Because remember, when you're part of the ISOC, of course, you're helping other people, you're helping the da'wah and everything that's happening at university, but ultimately you're helping yourself. You're helping yourself. Why? Because you're involving yourself in something good. You're involving yourself in getting close to Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is something that sometimes we don't realize being involved with the ISOC. We get involved with a process and we don't internalize it. We don't realize what are we doing, why are we doing it. For example, let's just say we're setting up a Jummah or we're organizing a lecture. It might be a process that we go through. Okay, let's get the poster done. Let's contact the speaker. That's the process, but ultimately you're doing it to benefit people. And once people are being benefited, you're getting the reward for every single person that's attending that lecture. You're getting the reward for every single person that sees that social media post that you designed and created and now it's on your social media page. So that's important. That's the reason why you have a vision. Why? Because you know exactly where you want to see yourself and your organization in the future. And like I mentioned, it should be motivated by seeking Allah's pleasure, earning His reward, removing yourself from the fire, and it shouldn't be motivated by ego. You know, my ISOC is better than the other ISOC, or my position is better than the other person's position. It's not. We shouldn't. It's not based on ego. It's not an egotistic society, or the work that we're doing is not based on ego. And again, it shouldn't be motivated by earning Allah's displeasure. So again, when we do something, ask yourself. It's really important that will Allah be happy with this? What I am doing, this decision that I'm making, is it going to please Allah? And we shouldn't be making it. We shouldn't be removing ourselves from Allah's mercy. Again, ask yourself the question: is what I am doing going to get me closer to Allah, or is it going to make me distant from Allah? And sometimes you'll find, even being in the ISOC, we might make decisions or we might do things which again, without knowledge or something which we don't fully realize the gravity of doing it. We could actually be removing ourselves from the mercy of Allah. And again, dunya, it shouldn't be based on dunya pleasures or dunya motivations. And this point here about removing yourself from the fire, when we see ourselves and we see what Allah wants from us, Allah He tells us in the Quran, that save yourselves and your families from the hellfire. So this is one of the first things that when we create the vision, what's going to help us, what's going to earn Allah's pleasure, what's going to get us reward, and what's going to save ourselves from the fire. And the opposite of that, what's going to get us to Jannah, what's going to get us to paradise. And this is the vision. This is how we plan our long-term strategy and the vision and the plan and the objectives, inshallah. So that is what is a vision. Let me go on to the next slide, inshallah. Okay. Next question. Let me just open it up. Let me stop this. Okay. If you go back onto slide down, I'm asking a question: why should we have a vision? Why should we have a vision? So the first question was, what is a vision? So this question now is, why should we have a vision? Why is it important to have a vision? Okay, provides focus and direction. Provides focus and direction, good. Provides motivation and keeps you going. It looks good on paper. It looks fancy. Allows us to look good in front of the ISOC. Look, us as an ISOC, we've got a vision. Is that a reason why we should have a vision? Good. So that's 18 of you guys. Anybody else? Good. Okay. Excellent. Let's discuss this. Let's discuss why should we have a vision. Let me go on to the next slide. I don't know exactly. Let me. Okay, good, excellent. So why have a vision? What's the importance of having a vision? Number one, it provides focus and direction. Okay, Why is this important? So what, provides focus and direction. What does that mean? Ultimately, you know where you're going. You know the direction that you're heading in. Okay, so when we and later on in this presentation, I'll give some case studies of possible visions that you could have, and then you'll find that when something comes, or when someone, for example, in your ISOC committee meeting that you might have a meeting every week, every month. Someone comes up with a suggestion or an idea, and without a vision, you will be dragged from all corners. Somebody comes up with an idea or a suggestion, you'll say, oh, that's a really good idea, let's do it. Somebody else will come up with an idea and say, oh, that's a really good idea, let's do it. And in the end, you won't be able to have no focus. Why? Because you don't have a vision. So that's the importance of having a vision. Why? Because then you can fine-tune everything that happens. You can fine-tune your plans for the year. You can fine-tune the activities that you do. Why? Because everything will tie back to the vision. Okay, and again, it gives you clarity. That was something that was in the poll, but nobody really mentioned. Nobody said that this is why we should have a vision. Why? It gives you clarity. Like I said, when it comes to making decisions, or making shura, when it comes to ideas, it gives you clarity. No, we're not going to do this. Why? Because it doesn't fall in line with the vision. Yes, let's do this. Why? Because it falls in line with the vision. Again, the other thing, it gives you added meaning. It saves time. Like I mentioned, when let's just say you have a proposal, there's the ISOC committee, they have like 10 ideas that they want to do this year, or maybe 15, or maybe 20 even. If you have a vision, you can save time. You can say, okay, that's not us. That doesn't represent us. Why? Because it's not part of the vision. And again, it shapes your environment and social circles. It shapes your environment and social circles. When you look, let's take a step back. Let's forget the ISOC for the time being. When we're talking about a vision, every person should have a vision personally, not just for an ISOC. So when you know what your vision is in life, you will make sure that those people around you have a similar vision. Or even if they don't have a similar vision, they will help you to achieve your vision. So those circles that you are in and that environment that you're in, that will ultimately help you reach your vision, whether it's you personally, where you want to get in life, or from an ISOC perspective. Okay, so that's why it's really important that when you have a vision, everything is focused on that. Your whole life is focused on that. So everything that you do leads to that vision. And again, we'll at the end of this section, I'll touch upon making sure that you look after yourself and you focus on yourself. Inshallah, we'll come on to that. Provides you motivation and keeps you going. Okay, this is really important. Why? Because in your journey as an ISOC, there will be ups and downs, highs and lows. But when you have a vision in mind, it doesn't matter, what the blocks are that hit you, the roadblocks, the problems, the issues, everything that happens. Why? Because you will always be motivated, and it will keep you going. Yeah, you'll trip, you'll stumble, you'll come across problems, but ultimately, when you have a vision, you will try your utmost to overcome those barriers and those hurdles. Why? Because you've got a vision. You know where your end goal is. It helps you transcend petty issues and life's obstacles. Actually, I mean, we've just touched upon that, and it gives you a framework for decision making. It gives you a framework for decision making, and I think we've touched upon that. So when there's a number of ideas, and you need to make a decision, obviously you can't do every single idea. Your resources are limited, your time is limited, you don't have all the time in the world. So how are you going to prioritize what's important for you? And again, that's the vision. Okay. Like I said, let me finish this section. I'm sure there's questions. Make notes of any questions that you have, or just post them in the comments box. And once I finish, we'll go through the questions, inshallah. Think big, think again, look, as people, as humans, as individuals, as people who are in their early 20s, I assume majority of you are in your early 20s. It's always important to think big. Always important that when you make your own vision for you, yourself personally, and also for the ISOC, think big and think what's going to help me. The Prophet ﷺ said that, when you ask Allah Azza wa Jal for Jannah, for paradise, asking for Jannatul Firdaus, which is the highest part of paradise. We don't settle for second best or anything low. So, whenever we create the vision, whenever we set our objectives, whenever we work, we always work hard, we think big. And this is why it's extremely important that when you're dealing with the ISA, it's always important not to think of it as something which it's a tick box exercise. Okay, let's do Discover Islam Week. Okay, that's fine. Let's get some speakers in. Let's get an exhibition in, and we've ticked the boxes. That's fine. There's basic things that we have to do to get things done. But think about how can we create the most impact. How can we impact the most students? So always think about thinking big, thinking and aim. Always aim to be the best at what you do. From a dunya perspective, in your studies, when you start working, when you have families, but also from a religious, a dini perspective, that Allah tells us about the concept of ihsan, by excellence. That whatever you do with excellence. When you worship Allah with excellence. So this is really important. This is extremely important. So, okay. Next point, how do you develop your vision? And these were just some things that came to my mind when I was preparing this presentation. These are some things that came to my mind about ISOC, about my time at university, and just having, like I mentioned, being, having seen the university scene over the last 15, 20 years. What's your ultimate goal? Ultimately, what is your goal? Like we touched upon, like we mentioned, it's to, it's for Jannah. It's to seek the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's our ultimate goal. What are you passionate about? And this is more from an individual perspective. Okay, what are you passionate about? And just for you guys, I'll share this presentation with you. So if you're taking notes, I mean, it's fine, take notes, but the presentation itself, I'll share it with everyone, inshallah, or I'll get Sister Musaiba to send it to everyone, inshallah. What are you passionate about? So even you from an individual perspective, okay, being part of the ISA, of course, we're there to seek the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, but everyone's different, and that's really important. Even from a religious perspective, no two people will be the same. Your one person's iman will differ from another person's iman. One person's closeness to Allah Azza wa Jal is different to another person's closeness to Allah Azza wa Jal. And my point about saying this is that everyone's on a journey. Not everyone is at the same level from an Islamic perspective, and also from a dunya perspective. You all have certain skill sets, and it's really important that you, I guess, get in where you fit in. Okay, somebody might be really good at graphic designs. Okay, that's fine. This is your area now. Somebody might be good at planning. Some people, sorry, might be good at a particular thing. So again, look at what you're passionate about. Look at your ISOC committee members. If you're the Emir, look at each person. What are their passions? And that should help you to develop that particular vision for this year. What drives you? Again, what motivates you? What do people think and talk about the most? And again, this is going to be different for different ISOCs, because every ISOC is different, and that's something that you're probably going to hear me say a number of times today. Every ISOC is different, and the things, again, there's another point here. What does your campus need? So I'm just going to mention both of them at the same time. What do people think and talk about the most, and what does your campus need? So your campus best. Okay, every campus has its own unique issues. In one campus, I don't know, Islamophobia might be rampant. So your vision will will help address that particular topic. Your ISOC might have been established for 15, 20, 30 years. So you're established, so now you're working on certain things. Your ISOC might be completely new. Your ISOC might have been dead for the last 10, 15 years, and a new committee has come on board, and so your issues and your problems and the things that you need to tackle will be different. Okay, what is important? Okay, that makes sense. Where do you want the ISOC to be in 5 to 10 years time? Okay, so when I was at uni, when I was president of the ISOC, we always used to think that we would be involved in the ISOC for the rest of our lives. Okay, and some of you might be later on in your studies, you might be finishing or might have even graduated. Life moves on. After ISOC, life moves on. You finish university, you get a job, you might get married, and ISOC is a distant memory. So it's important that when we create the vision, we create a long-term plan. Of course, ISOCs work in I mean, that's just how ISOCs work, in that every year there's a new committee. But really, it shouldn't be that every year you start from scratch and you reinvent the wheel every year. Really, if you can, generally, once you set the vision generally doesn't change. Okay, the vision generally, it doesn't change, but the way that you achieve the vision, it could change from year to year. And inshallah, we'll come on to that. We'll discuss how you do that, inshallah. But again, so where do you want the ISOC to be in 5 to 10 years time? What does good look like? And again, we'll come on to this. What is good? What's success? Again, when you go into industry, and you'll probably start hearing about KPIs, key performance indicators. What's success? What do we measure our success on? Is it the number of lectures that we churn out? Is it the number of new Muslims that come on board? Is it the impact that we, again, how do you measure things? So again, we'll come on to that. What does your campus need? Good. What challenges will your campus face in 9 months and 5 years? Again, and this is really important. To again look at your campus. What sort of challenges will we face in the next few months, in the next 9 months, in the next 5 years, and to develop the vision and the aims and the objectives to meet those challenges, inshallah. And look, the last and the most important point is, what will Allah be pleased with? And this is really important, and it's a recurring theme in probably every slide. In every slide, what will Allah be pleased with? Okay, so how are we improving ourselves? How are we improving, or how are we helping students on campus improve themselves? So this is extremely important. Why? Because look, at this stage in university life, like I said, everyone's on a journey. Everyone is learning themselves, and everyone's benefiting. So it's extremely important that when we make our plans for the year and for the next X amount of years, that we make sure that we inadvertently, we might not know, we don't do things which will jeopardize our future, with Allah. Why? Because it's knowledge. Acting without knowledge is extremely dangerous. So when we come up with the vision, when we come up with the year plan, when you make the plan for the year, it's extremely important that you have that at the front of your mind. What will Allah be pleased with? And it's very important to have a group of people around you who you can go to for questions, for advice. If there's any Islamic issues, having those people around you, students of knowledge, imams even, who can help you. If there's any questions, Allah He tells us in the Quran, ask those people. If you don't know, ask those people who know if you don't know. So again, that's really important. Okay, this is quite important now. This is the practical stuff, and again, this is something that I've over the years in management you pick up and you learn. So this is something that I do on a daily basis. I'm also a manager, and I manage like a department, and a number of people. So once you have your vision, how do you put that vision into action? So an important thing here is, if you see on the left, activity grouping. So once you have the vision, you put this into action by thinking, okay, how are we going to achieve this? You could say that, you know, there's a number of things that we want to do. So number one, for example, you could say education. Okay, this is going to be very practical now. You could say education, okay, and then under education, you could break it down even further and say, okay, what do we want to do to educate? Okay, you know, making sure that we have regular classes, Arabic classes, Quran classes, lectures, you know, making sure that the Jummah khutbah topics are relevant, making sure that the khatibs that we have in, you know, they understand the audience that they're addressing, a number of things, and then you develop it over the years. You could say number two, you could say campaigns, for example. So for the next, you know, few years, you plan the campaigns. You know, you could have a campaign on, I don't know, let's just say Islamophobia awareness. You could have a campaign on Ramadan. You could call it a Ramadan campaign. You know, where you have, you know, you encourage people to, you know, break the fast together. You have a grand iftar, for example. You have a number of things. You know, the sort of the typical things that happen in the ISOC. You know, you could have something. You can have a section here on community engagement. For example, it could include you know, working with organizations in the community. It could include charity, charitable efforts and projects that the ISOC want to get involved in. You could say, okay, you know what, we want to focus on, you know, physical fitness. We could focus on physical fitness, let's just say, so, you know, sports and so on. And again, this is for you guys to sort of sit down with your committee and your shura and to create these plans, okay? And as we go on, I don't mind helping you, which I'll come on to later on, inshallah. And then once you've got the 5-year strategy and the 5-year plan, you create the annual plan. So let's just say now, you break things up and you say, okay, number one, like I'm just going to give the example of education. You literally you break each area into activities. You know, so let's just say Jummah khutbah. Okay, what needs to happen? Jummah khutbah, you know, making sure that the khatib is booked, making sure that the topic is confirmed, making sure that the khatib is suitable, and so on. Education. Let's plan the whole year for education. What do we want to focus on this year? Is it, you know, is it classical knowledge? Is it making sure that the students understand the basics of Islam? Again, that's for you guys to plan and put it into this plan. And again, I'll share these documents with you, inshallah. And again, it's, you know, have the person responsible for this and create the whole year plan. And again, being organized helps you to plan the whole year. You know who's responsible. You know when it's when each thing is going to happen. And you know, you as the ISOC committee, as the shura members, as the president, as you know, the different committee members, it's you guys to come together and to plan the year, inshallah. And there should be a strategic focus. There should be a strategic focus. So again, you should have things that you really want to focus on for this particular year. And these top 3 activities of areas for areas of work, these will lead to your vision becoming a reality. So look, I know really well that as an ISOC, you do, you know, a number of things, but you know, there should be a few key things which you really focus on. You know, there's some items which, you know, we call business as usual. You know, business as usual. These things will happen every year regardless. Like I said, Discover Islam Week, it's business as usual. You know, regular lectures, business as usual. Jummah khutbahs, business as usual. So those are, you know, but you should have maybe 2 or 3 activities of work that lead to your vision becoming a reality. Okay, so that's extremely important. So again, and the benefits of strategic focus, again, it provides that focus. It makes decision making easier when you know, like I said, when there's 10 things on the table and you know, okay, no, You want to focus on X, Y, and Z. Why? Because this is what's going to make our vision become a reality. And again, unity. Why? Because when everyone's on the same page, and again, we'll discuss this later on. When everyone's on the same page, it makes life easy. Use of resources good, more likely to make an impact, helps you plan, and it achieves your vision. Okay, good. Okay, there's a couple of case studies now, which practical tips. The first one. So this is the first case study. The vision for your ISOC this year. This is the first. But this is just an example now. The vision this year is to create a Muslim community on campus that cultivates a strong foundation of Iman and shares the faith with the wider communities. So what sort of things should you include? What sort of things should you include in your year plan? Let me just make sure that you can. Okay, sorry. Share this. Okay. Good. Anybody else? Okay. So your vision this year, or your long-term vision, is to create a Muslim community on campus that cultivates a strong foundation of Iman and shares their faith with the wider communities. Okay, more people, 5 people, 6, good. 8, good. Nobody saying organize a protest for human rights awareness? We'll come on to this, we'll discuss. No? Okay. Good. Dawah training, Quran classes for reading and writing. Good. Excellent. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. So now I want to discuss this with you guys. So this is, when I spoke about strategic focus. So let's just say your vision is to create a Muslim, a Muslim community on campus that cultivates a strong foundation of Iman and shares their faith with the wider community. So let's just say now that's your vision. So your strategic focus this year is, and it could be, I say this year, it could be for the next 5 years, for example, develop Iman. How do you develop a person's Iman, their faith in Allah Azza wa Jal? Remove doubts, you learn spiritual development. So this year you could say, look, we're going to have a number of workshops on doubts and how to address them. First of all, how to remove doubts. If you have doubts ourselves, how to remove those doubts and how then to address other people's doubts. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is Quran. We want to focus on people's connection with the Quran. So what we need to do is we need to create some circles for reading, to read, have a tafsir session, reflection, understanding. That's something that we want to do. Again, da'wah. Why? Because we're saying share the faith with the wider community. So how are you going to share your faith? Through da'wah, through training, through interfaith dialogue. So you might say, okay, this year we're going to have a number of interfaith dialogues with different societies and understanding contemporary ideologies. Good. So does that make sense? So the vision creates that strategic focus. I want to give another example now. This is another example, another case. So let's just say you as an ISOC this year, or your long-term vision is to develop a Muslim community who are future leaders in their respective communities, experts in their respective fields, and confident in sharing their faith. So now your strategic focus is going to be slightly different to your first. Okay, so even in this case study, you will still do those business as usual activities. You'll still have your, Ramadan and your Discover Islam Week and your regular lectures. But this is your strategic focus now. You want to focus on developing leadership skills. So you might have retreats. You might have training for the ISOC committee, and in general, you might, you want to build role models. You might have workshops on career development, get some mentors in, have some CV workshops, create entrepreneurs, and so on. Again, identity, Islamophobia, developing understanding and appreciation for Islamic history, and so on. So does that make sense? So your vision will create that strategic focus. And that strategic focus will then create everything else. So it's really a top-down process here. So that's that. And again, so how does the vision affect the yearly plan? So your yearly plan is going to be different. ISOC 1, like we mentioned, is more focused on building people's iman. So their ISOC will be focused on a particular direction this year. ISOC 2 are the thinking about things more broadly. They want to make that complete Muslim who is confident about his faith, but at the same time, when he goes out, he's got those life skills, I guess, which will help him succeed, inshallah. So again, look, focus on people, not numbers. So before when I said, what do you measure success with? You could say this year we want to make sure we have X amount of events. That's fine. We want X amount of people attending. Okay, that's one possible way of measuring success. But really, the vision is not about achieving, fancy numbers, stats. It's not necessarily about that. It could be about that, but it's not wholly focused on that. You should think about developing your members. First of all, that you sitting here as the ISOC committee, developing your members, create that right environment for the development of those people, and choose the right things to focus on for the audience. And this is just a note on personal vision. Okay. So like, we've spoken about the ISOC, but really for you yourself as a person, use this as an opportunity. Use this as an opportunity for yourself to build on your akhirah. Ultimately, your worship is either, what am I doing? What am I doing that's different? What am I doing that's extra? And again, when we come on to the character traits of an ISOC, I don't want to go of an ISOC committee member. We'll touch upon it then. But again, everything needs to, you need to have a plan. You yourself as an individual. Why? Because you're a role model. When people see you being part of the ISOC, they see you as a role model, and that's really important. You might not realize it, but you probably don't know what you've signed yourself up to. But when you're part of the ISOC, ultimately or naturally, people see you as you're part of the Islamic society. So you have to try to be better. Like I said, everyone's on a journey. You might okay, you're praying 5 times a day. Let's work on your sunnah prayers, for example. You're not giving in charity. There's certain things that you can do to build yourself, even your lifestyle, your family. All of these things are part of our deen. How good are you to your family, to your parents? Are you good to those people around you? You should have a life plan. Even in terms of your career, what do you want to do? What are you doing now to help you become employable? Are there things that you could do on top of your university studies that will help you become more employable than the next person? And likewise for that one. So again, this is something that I wanted to touch upon. So this is the end of this particular area. Again, these are the problem with these. I guess not the problem, but these are really. I'm giving you the tools, and like I said at the start, when somebody said that, I'm going to, you're going to walk away with knowing what your vision is. That's not the purpose for this. So homework for you as the ISA is to go away and develop and agree your vision for your ISA. And like I said, this could be something long term. So and see as something which is a long-term charity. Sadaqah Jariyah. So when you plan for the next 5 years, when the next ISA comes, they have a framework to work with. They're not starting from scratch. Okay, and then plan the year plan. Brainstorm your strategic focus. What do you want to do this year? What are those key? Again, we call them golden nuggets. Okay, golden nuggets. What are your golden nuggets for this year? What are those key bucket items, and then draft a plan for your academic year. And if you want, you could email me, and I'll give you my thoughts or my ideas, inshallah. Good. So let me stop sharing my screen. Okay. Is it possible to share screen? Sorry, that was. Okay. I think for the last few minutes you couldn't see my. For the last 20 minutes. Okay. You know, when I'm presenting, I can't see the comments. So if the screen disappears or if anything happens, just unmute yourselves and just let me know. Okay. That's a shame that the screen wasn't being shared because. Okay, so that's the end of this particular area. Are there any questions that you have? Like I said, I'll share the screen with you. I'll share the screen with you. Sorry, I'll share the presentation with you later on, inshallah. But are there any questions about this particular area about visioning and how to create your own vision? Let me just share the screen quickly so I can just show you what I went through. Okay. So this was, I think this is yeah, okay. So like I said, that was a case study. So different ISOCs will have different strategic focuses depending on what the vision is. And this is what I said when I spoke about, you know, the different ISOCs will plan differently based on the year plan. Good. Okay, so you didn't miss. I don't think you missed much of the presentation. So like I said, actually, did you guys see this? So I think I showed you this about putting the vision into action. So this is something that I can share with you, inshallah. Good. So look, I think to takeaway points. If you go away and develop and agree your vision for the ISOC, brainstorm your strategic focuses. So what are your key points? What are those, you know, golden nuggets that you want to focus on this year? And draft a plan for your academic year, inshallah. Let me just stop sharing my screen now. Okay. Good. So I'll just put my email address here. Inshallah. Are there any particular questions about this this area of the vision? How to go about doing it? I think I've given you the core tools, but really it's about, you know, I'm not going to tell you that this is what you need to include this year or this is what the vision should be. That's for you as an ISOC to discuss it with your shura, your committee, you know, the working group that you have, and put that into practice, inshallah. And like I said, if you want to share it with me, I can share my thoughts or my ideas with it, inshallah. So if there's no questions, let me scroll up. Okay, good. Like I said, if as we're going through this, if you want to just put something in the chat, and then at the end of each section or session, we'll address the questions, inshallah. So okay, let's go on to part 2, leadership, inshallah. Can you guys all see my screen? Feel free to unmute yourself and just say yes.
Yeah, we can see.
Excellent. Okay, good. Okay. Is that how you get that? Okay. Okay, part 2, leadership. Okay, so Bismillah. Every single person, every single one of you here is a leader. Okay, even if you're not the president of the ISOC, okay, you're leading your particular area. I assume, you know, everyone here is managing or in charge of a particular area. So there's a few key things to leadership, and these are just some things that I wrote down and something that I've so, yeah. Number 1, being a leader sometimes, not always, is giving without expecting to take. Okay, I want you guys what does that mean, giving without expecting to take? Again, feel free to unmute yourselves, talk, chat. I don't mind. I'm pretty easy. What does that mean, giving without expecting to take? Anybody? Let's see. Doing work without expecting anything. Excellent. Good. Exactly that. For the sake of Allah. Excellent. Excellent. Good. So you're giving without expecting to take. Why? Because ultimately, no one's getting paid for this, right? no one's getting paid for it. You're always giving, giving, and giving, and you're not necessarily taking. From a dunya perspective, again, think about it from a dunya perspective, because this is how people think about leadership. You know, we're putting in so much effort, we're putting in so much time, we're giving up our, our spare time, you're giving and giving and giving. And sometimes, look, it is difficult. You know, when we say, yeah, we're doing it for the sake of Allah, of course we're doing it for the sake of Allah. That goes without saying. But sometimes shaitan comes, shaitan whispers, saying, why are you wasting your time? You're doing so much, and that person or the other person, he's not doing anything. Why do you have to always give? So that's the first thing. The second thing is caring without caring to be cared about. Okay, it's a bit of a tongue twister. Caring without caring to be cared about. And again, this is not the case every single time, but it might be the case. So as a leader, sometimes people won't ask you, how are you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? Why? Because they expect you as the leader to be asking them. Does that make sense? Because you as a leader, you naturally should be caring about those people underneath you, those people who either you're managing or those people who are looking up to you. So sometimes it could be a case where you're caring without, and you don't care about being cared about. Okay, and sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to do that. Of course, everyone needs help, everyone needs support, everyone needs that circle around them, people to care for them, people to look after them, people to just as an outlet. But ultimately, there'll be times where your focus is more on other people. Okay, so that's really important. Number 3, supporting without expecting to be supported. Supporting without expecting to be supported. Any ideas what this means, or can someone give me something practical, or what are your thoughts about this? So you're supporting without expecting to be supported, and I think we've touched upon this. We've touched upon this, right? Your role is to support other people, and sometimes you might necessarily receive the support that you need, and that's one of the traits of a leader. That's one of the traits or one of the things about leadership. And again, it's probably not as intense in the ISOC, okay? Because, there's a good group of, brothers, sisters who are working. But sometimes it might be the case, being just with those who are not fair to you. And again, we'll come on to this in more detail, but this is really important. When you're in a position of leadership, not everyone's going to be fair to you. But you as the leader, even if you have a look at this, the seerah, so many incidents in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, when he was ridiculed, when he was unjustly treated, unfairly treated. But again, he was the bigger person. He was the bigger person. He would forgive people. He would overlook people. Even people weren't fair to him. He made sure that he was fair. Why? Because he had he had Islam. Ultimately, if Islam was taken away from us, we would be just like the next random person that you see outside. Okay, but Islam teaches us about fairness, about equality, about justice. Even if you're in the wrong, then being that bigger person is, you stand up and you still be just, even though that person has wronged you. That's what leadership is. It's swallowing your pride. It's lowering yourself, humbling yourself. Okay, spreading order out of chaos. What does that mean? Anybody? Spreading order out of chaos. Anybody? Speak up or type something in the chat. What does this mean, spreading order out of chaos? Good, keeping everyone calm. Don't cause activity.
Like you were saying earlier with using the focus, like the vision to bring things back together and focus whenever there's like a lot of ideas for one thing, narrowing things down, kind of.
Excellent. Jazakallah khair, Abdurrahman. Excellent. Excellent. Spot on. Remaining calm under pressure. Take charge of the situation. So spreading order out of chaos. So when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he passed away, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the companions they were in a state of shock. There was chaos. Umar radiallahu anhu, he gathered everyone and he said, look, whoever says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has died and has passed away, then I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to like deal with them. I'm going to, sort them out. People were there was pandemonium. Abu Bakr, he went to where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was lying. He passed away sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and when he saw him, he realized that he passed away. And again, I'm just paraphrasing a very important, incident in the seerah. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he went out and he saw the chaos, and he heard what Umar radiallahu anhu was saying. So he went to the other corner of where they were, and he gathered the people, and he said, he said that whoever believes in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or whoever worshipped the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, man kana ya'budu, so whoever used to worship the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has passed away. And then he said, whoever worshipped or whoever worships Allah Azza wa Jal knows that huwa hayyun la yamut, he is ever living and he will never die. And then everybody realized what happened and what was happening, and they went to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Again, this is spreading order out of chaos. That's one example. Everybody else around you might be in chaos. There might be, like the sister mentioned, mentioned that there was, an event could go wrong, or in the middle of an event, let's just say the speaker cancelled, and there's 100 people in front of you, and there's no speaker. What do? So whenever there's chaos, whenever there's things not going to plan, a leader steps up and spreads order out of this chaos. Okay, creating confidence out of despair. Again, similar sort of thing. When people, when something goes wrong, bringing confidence to those people around you. Okay, bringing confidence to those people around you. Creating trust out of suspicion. Creating trust out of, this is what leadership is. Okay, creating trust out of suspicion and creating courage out of fear. Okay, somebody might be scared to do something, or it might be the first time that they're organizing an event, for example. It's to you to motivate that person, to help them, to assist them, to give them courage in order to achieve that. So again, these were just some of them were my thoughts, some of them are taken from different sources, but essentially leadership in general, this is what leadership is. And this is what leadership is from a Sunnah perspective. Okay, and all of these, again, the time doesn't allow it, but all of these are backed up from the incidents from the Sunnah. So, okay, I want to speed up. Okay, so this is the topic. Here. So we're talking about general leadership traits. We're talking about ISOC particular leadership traits, inshallah. So the first. Okay, you guys can see my slides. So if you can't, if for whatever reason you can't see my slides, just message. I can see the chat now. I figured out how to get the chat. Okay, general characteristics, strength and trust. Again, this is really important. You know, you have to trust those people around you. As a leader, you have to trust those people around you, whether it's the president, whether it's the emir, whether it's the emira, whether it's, you know, different people around you. You have to trust them and have that strength, to do your role. Okay, that's really important. You've been given this role, and again, we'll come on to it. This is an amana. This is a trust from Allah Azza wa Jal that He's given you. So it's extremely important that you make sure that you execute this trust in the best possible way. Okay, listening and forgiving. We'll come on to this a bit later on about listening, about forgiving. We touched upon forgiving, kindness, and trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. Again, this is something which we need to have. Resolve. Again, you know, things might not always go to plan. Things, you know, there might be some people that are difficult to deal with. And again, you know, ISOC, life isn't always a bed of roses. Okay, you know, there will be people that are difficult to deal with. There might be, you know, different committee members that might be, you know, again, you have to realize that every person is different, and different things work with different people. And, you know, something that I haven't really included in this, but people management. It's probably not really ISOC, you know, it is ISOC relevant, but not, you know, but people management is extremely important. Know how each person works. You know, there could be something that you can say to one person, but you couldn't say it to another person. Why? Because he's, you know, or he or she, they might be a bit more sensitive than the other person. So again, you have to know those people that are part of your team. Knowledge and wisdom, like I've mentioned about knowledge. It's extremely important that the things that you do and the things that you carry out, they're based on knowledge. You know, as Muslims, everything that we do needs to be based on Islamic, correct, authentic knowledge. And that's why it's really important that even as the president, you know, you might, again, nobody should have that impression that they know everything, or that, you know, their particular opinion or, you know, their way is the right way. So it's extremely important to have people around you, people who are knowledgeable, people who understand university. And again, that's really important. You know, you might have somebody who's knowledgeable, but they don't understand university life. Does that make sense? You might have a sheikh or an imam, you know, who's maybe studied abroad, he's lived abroad, he's never, maybe, you know, he's not been to university here. He doesn't understand the mindset of university life and students. So again, it's having those right people around you. Okay, that's extremely important. And of course, wisdom. Okay, wisdom, hikmah, is putting everything in its right place. Hikmah is putting everything in its right place. Okay, so like I mentioned, knowing what to do in what situation. You might do something in one situation, but you wouldn't do it in a different situation. Why? Because the parameters were different. The people that you were dealing with was different. This is what wisdom is. Okay, and this, you know, wisdom is not something that you learn. Sorry, it's not something that you can study. It's something that you learn, and you learn by being with the right people. You learn by experience. Okay, that's extremely important. Okay. When you look at the Prophet ﷺ, he was the best leader. And when you look at all of the ayat that were revealed, or some of the first three passages that were revealed, these are the three pillars of leadership. When you look at Iqra, Bismi Rabbika alladhi khalaq, that's knowledge. So the first thing that you should do, you should have knowledge. You should read, you should attend lectures yourself. You know, you might be organizing, and that's another thing that I found when we're involved in da'wah in general. Sometimes we forget ourselves. We're more worried about everybody else. Okay, it's really, you should come first when it comes to your deen. Preserving yourself, protecting yourself. You know, asking Allah Azza wa Jal for istiqamah, asking Allah Azza wa Jal for steadfastness. That is something for yourself. So gaining knowledge is extremely important. That was the first thing the Prophet Allah Azza wa Jal commanded the Prophet to read, Iqra. Okay, that's the first pillar. The second is Qum fa'andir. in Surah Muddathir, Allah Azza wa Jalla tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to stand up and warn. That's activism, that's da'wah, that's calling people to what you know, calling people to, you know, Allah's message. And the third is قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, that pray at night even a little. And I just want to pause here because this is really important. Number one and number two are important, but number three is probably, you know, it's extremely important. Why is this? قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to stand at night, even if it's for a little, even if it's for a short amount of time. I want to ask you guys a question. Why is this so important? So we've said, you know, the three pillars of leadership from our deen: knowledge, activism, and worship. Why is worship so important? Muhammad said sincerity. Good, excellent. What else? Any other reason? Allah Azza wa Jalla told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Pray at night, even if it's a little. It grounds you. Taqwa, good. Keeps your ego in check, humbling yourself before Allah, seeking assistance from Him. Keeps your connection with Allah, sincerity, excellent. All of this is 100% true. Okay. There's one other point, and that is when you pray at night, no one can see you. When you're praying at night, nobody can see you. And somebody mentioned here about humbling yourself, sincerity. It's really easy to do good actions in front of people. It's very easy, and it's very easy for your niyyah, your ikhlas, your sincerity to become corrupted. Okay. You know, when we look at the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do you think that everything that you've read about the companions, this is all that they carried out? The answer is no. This is just what's been recorded. So if you see this is everything that's been recorded, imagine what they would do in secrecy. Is that clear? So when you look at the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the life of the companions radiyallahu anhum, what's been recorded is what was seen by people, and it was recorded. Imagine what they done and carried out behind closed doors. Imagine what they did. That hasn't been recorded. So keeping those deeds that are only between you and Allah, that's extremely important. Why? Because it will keep you in check. And Brother Salahuddin has mentioned, keeps your ego in check, and it humbles yourself before Allah. Why? Because when you're in a position of leadership, when you're in a position of, I wouldn't say power, but when you're in a position of leadership, it's very easy to become arrogant. It's very easy to become, you think that you're bigger, you're better than everyone else. But your worship in secret, and that's the purpose here. Your worship in secret is what's going to keep you in check. That's what's going to keep you in check. Why? Because you know that what you're doing is for Allah Azza wa Jalla alone, and nobody else can see you. So this is the third pillar of leadership. It's worship. Worship in your normal worship, but also worship in private. And look, it doesn't have to be major things. It could be something that nobody else sees. You're giving in charity, you're helping somebody. Your worship. Praying, nawafil, praying. When you come into university, going to the prayer room, praying 2 rak'ahs. Again, it could be anything, but just have something. This is the practical tip from me to you. Have something in your life between you and Allah that nobody else knows. At least one thing this year. It's something extremely important that you do. Okay, so that's the 3 pillars of leadership. Good. Okay. These are sort of general things, and I'll touch upon them. We've spoken about ego. Our ego says, I want to be right, I never want to be wrong. I want to look good, I never want to be bad. I want to impose, and I don't want to be imposed upon. To the extent that you reject the truth and what is right. Okay. And the ego prevents unity, achieving best results, doing what's right, achieving your vision, trust, and integrity. This is what ego is. Okay, and it's important that when we work in the ISAC, that we're doing what we're doing, that we make sure that we keep our ego in check, especially at this age. You know, it's really it's very easy to let our egos get the better of us. Okay, so you know, you work as a team. Why? Because when your ego gets the better of you, it causes discord, it causes disunity. So again, this is ego. Integrity, again, something else very important. What you say is what you do. You keep your word. You are your word. Your word is your identity. Does that make sense? Your word is your identity. So what you say represents you. What you say represents you. You are trustworthy, you are sincere, and you are a mirror. So we're talking about leadership here. Okay? We're talking about leadership. When you become a mirror, why is it important that you act as a mirror to other people? Why? Because I've written here, certainty gives rise to certainty. When you're certain about something, other people will be certain. Okay? When you're uncertain about something, you spread uncertainty amongst everyone. And that's not what you do as a leader. You're certain about your decision that you've made. Compassion gives rise to, when you're compassionate, you'll find people being compassionate back to you. When you're passionate about something, people around you will be compassionate. Is that clear? I think this is really important, especially the final part about you being a mirror unto other people. Okay, certainty gives rise to certainty, compassion gives rise to passion, and passion gives rise to passion. Why? Essentially, everything that you do is mirrored on those people around you. Okay? And service. Ultimately, you're here to okay. Service. Ultimately, you're here to serve other people. That's why you're the concept of khidmah in Islam, being at people's service, is something which is really important. The Prophet ﷺ told us that a Muslim, that Allah will be in the assistance of a slave so long as that person is at the assistance of his brother or sister. Okay, this is what the Prophet ﷺ. So the concept of khidmah and helping people is part of our DNA as Muslims. And this ultimately, what we're doing here, this is service on steroids. Okay, this is, you know, you're serving those people around you. You're serving the Muslims on campus and non-Muslims. Again, it's Muslims and non-Muslims. So you're serving others. You're leading from the front. You're dedicated to the well-being of others. You empower, develop, and inspire. You become what you want others to be. So again, this is really important for you as a person. And I'll come on to this about being role models. People will look around and they'll see you. So this is what you want others to become. You are what you want other people to become. So if you're, you know, falling short, if you're, you know, not setting the right example, then everybody else will follow suit. So that's why it's extremely important to lead from the front. Okay. Compassion. Again, this is something really important. Compassion, you're kind, you're soft-hearted. You know, you empathize, you sympathize, you understand context, you give the benefit of doubt. You know, you always assume the best. You know, as Muslims, we're not people who assume the worst. You know, and that's something that we always fall into. When we see something, the first thing that we think of is the worst possible thing. You know, we'll see a brother and a sister. You've never seen them before, but you see them together. Straight away, you're thinking about all sorts. You're thinking, what's going on here? What are they up to? You know, there might be brother and sister. There might be husband and wife. There might be X, Y, and Z. Okay, so giving the benefit of doubt is extremely important. Okay, giving the benefit of doubt is extremely important, and understanding context. Understanding context again is extremely important. And look, this is something, like I said, it's part of our DNA as Muslims. These are all things which you know, you'll find them in corporate management books. But 99% of things that you'll find in corporate management books are from, you'll find them in Islam. You'll find them in Islam. Okay, courage, we've touched upon this. I don't want to. Communication, this is really important. I want to spend a couple of minutes on this. Communication. In my experience in da'wah, in general, and generally in life, communication is probably the main reason for problems to occur, or the main reason for problems occurring. It could be, between husband and wife. It could be, between a team. It could be between a leader and his team. Communication is extremely important, and when we, communication and the traps of shaitan are linked, and this is the ayah that I've included here. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He tells us why saying something good is important. وَقُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, tell my servants to say what is best. There's a number of things here. There's a number of ways to say things. Okay, Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling us, He's telling His slaves, He's telling His servants, us, me, and you, to say those things which are the best type of speech, which is the best type of speech. Why should we do this? Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us, "Inna shaytana yanzaghu baynahum." Allah Azza wa Jalla, the shaitan wants to cause disunity amongst you. He wants to cause problems amongst you. He wants you to fail as a team. This isn't me telling you this. This is Allah Azza wa Jalla saying this. And what's the root cause for this? It's about what you say. It's about communication. So ask yourselves, how are you communicating with the team? Are you going to communicate with the team? Again, some practical things. Weekly meetings, even if they're 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Meeting people face to face. So however your ISOC works, have those channel of communications. Extremely important. And again, this is, I can't stress upon this enough. Then the ayah finishes, "Inna shaytana kana lil insani aduwwan mubina." Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us that indeed shaitan is to mankind a clear enemy. Okay, so just some points I mentioned here. Shaitan, he wants to cause disunity amongst us. Okay, never ever let shaitan get in the way of your brotherhood and sisterhood. And you'll find that a lot of it comes down to communication. Either lack of communication or the way you communicate. Two things. It could be down to, and there might be a third and a fourth, but the two most important ones are lack of communication, number one, and then if there is communication, how you communicate, really important. So create clear communication channels. I mentioned, it could be a weekly meeting, it could be face-to-face, it could be a monthly meeting, but whatever the case is, there should be a clear, if somebody wants to raise something, there should be clear communication channels for them. Again, if there are any problems, communicate them. Don't keep things vented within yourself. Know how to communicate and articulate yourself. This is really important. There's a number of ways to say things. Some people have that way of talking and speaking, but some people are very blunt and to the point, and they might not be as articulate or as politically correct, should we say, as others. So it's about knowing, it's about knowing how to communicate and get your point across without offending other people, essentially. Okay, and when something happens, focus on the problem. Don't focus on people. Don't backbite. Don't say it was his fault. No, it was her fault. No, it was so-and-so's fault. Focus on the problem. What was the problem? What went wrong? Okay, how can we stop this from happening next time? You problem solve like that. You don't focus. You don't say, oh, this was the marketing department. They didn't put the poster out in time. That's why we only had 2 people turning up to the event. So let's hit the marketing team. That's not how you work. That's not how you should work. You should, after every event, have an after review meeting, for example. You talk about what will always be positive, what went well in the event. The speaker was really good. The topic was really good. The presentation was really good. Okay, what didn't go so well? Oh, the speaker turned up on time. So sorry, he didn't turn up on time. Okay, how can we solve this? We need to make sure that we have clear communication with the speaker. We let him know you have to turn up on time. If there's a delay, let us know beforehand. We need to send him a message the day before and so on. Okay, the turnout wasn't amazing. Okay, what can we do to resolve this? Okay, marketing team. Okay, let's set a schedule now. Every single event. 2 weeks before, the poster should be created and designed. Okay, the marketing schedule. Let's create a marketing schedule for events now. Okay, good. So create a weekly, 2 weekly, a fortnightly marketing schedule. So okay, we need to post this message out 5 times before the event, and this is when it goes out, and this is the time, and this is the person responsible, and that's it. Done. Finished. That's a nice way of doing things. When there's a problem, you problem solve. You don't focus on people. You don't focus on people. Why? Because you cause offense, you cause disunity, you cause bad feelings towards others. Okay, so that's communication, extremely important. Excellent, good. That was part 2. Any questions on anything that I've touched upon so far? So this was leadership skills. Any questions, comments? I don't mind people talking. Unmute yourself. Okay, good. Inshallah, we should. Inshallah, I think within the next 20 minutes we should finish. Inshallah. I did set myself 2 hours for this. I thought let's try to do it in 90 minutes, but I think we should be done within 20 minutes, and then we'll open up the floor for any questions or any comments, inshallah. Okay, part 3, and this is the final part of this. I guess you could call it a mini workshop. So essential character traits for an ISOC committee member. Okay, so we've spoken about leadership. Excellent, we know, certain leadership thing, skills or traits that you should have. But this is more from a personal perspective. This is more from you sitting here now as a member of the ISOC. Okay. So the first point I want to mention is know why you are here and its responsibilities. This is extremely important. Number 1, you're a role model. Okay, you are a role model, and this is, again, I can't stress upon this enough. When people see you, you are automatically put in a certain bracket as a person who's practicing, as a person who knows what he or she is doing. Why? Because they're part of the ISAC. Whether that's true or not, that's a different question altogether. But this is what people will see you. They see you as a role model. Okay, they see you as a role model. So it's extremely important that you carry yourself in the best possible way. And this is when Allah Azza wa Jalla, He tells us, do you enjoin people, to do good? أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do you enjoin people to do good, but you forget yourselves? Okay, so you might be organizing events and lectures and the Jummah khutbahs, and you're part of the marketing and you're getting things out, and you're enjoining good upon people, but you're forgetting yourself. So this, again, it's extremely important that you don't forget yourself. And I have touched upon this about making sure that you have something which is between yourself and Allah Azza wa Jal, that only He sees. Upholding Islamic values. What do I mean by this? Can anyone suggest in the comments, what do I mean by upholding Islamic values? What's an Islamic value? Being a good ambassador to Islam in public, excellent, good. Anyone else? Good manners in all situations, excellent. Honesty, good. Excellent, good. Alhamdulillah. Teaching others about the right thing to do Islamically, but being sure to practice it yourself, excellent. That's really good. Alhamdulillah. That's very good. Something else that I wanted to discuss here. I mean, everything that you said is valid and correct, but here, sometimes as ISOC members, and I want to make this real. I want to make this real, and so when we're dealing with the ISOC or when we're involved in ISOC, sometimes when we speak about Islamic values, we need to govern ourselves and the ISOC with these Islamic values. So when you're talking about honesty, when you're talking about doing the right thing Islamically, when you're talking about good manners, when you're talking about being a good ambassador to Islam in public. So then there's other things, for example, things that we overlook. For example, free mixing. We might encourage people, to lower our gaze or to lower their gaze when we're interacting with the opposite gender and so on. But when it comes to ourselves as the ISOC, as members of the ISOC, sometimes we're lax on certain issues. On certain issues, we're lax and we're relaxed and we don't really pay attention to it. But this is what I mean here by upholding Islamic values. For you as an ISOC member, is extremely important that all of these things, that our religion teaches us, these values, it's important that we implement them in every single aspect of our ISOC life. So when it comes to, like, the brothers and sisters mentioned about honesty, about, teaching others what to do, about enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. When you see something evil or when you see something wrong that's happening, he's speaking out against it. That the Prophet ﷺ, he told us, that when you see an evil, try to change it with your hands. If you can't change it, change it with your tongue. And if you can't change it with your tongue, then at least hate it in your heart. And the reason why the Prophet ﷺ said hate it in your heart, it's so that you don't be affected by that particular thing. Okay, so you don't be affected by that particular thing or that particular evil that's happening. And that's why you should hate it in the heart. Why? Because when you become accustomed to seeing something or doing something, that evil that's taking place, you no longer feel anything in your heart, and that's dangerous. When you see something and you no longer feel uncomfortable, or when you see an evil taking place, okay, you can't speak out against it for whatever reason, you can't change it with your hands for whatever reason, at least hate it in your heart. And this is something extremely important. But when you're in the ISOC, maintaining modesty and the concept of modesty when we're interacting with the opposite gender. The Prophet ﷺ, like he said that if a male and a female are in an enclosed space, the third person is shaitan. The third person is shaitan. And again, we think that we're safe from everything. We think that we're safe, but take my word for it and trust me that problems occur and issues happen when we don't preserve ourselves. Like I mentioned at the start, Allah will tell us to save ourselves first and foremost. There's no point in playing with fire. Okay, there's no point in taking a risk with anything, with our deen, especially when it comes to our religion. Okay, and that's why in Islam there's a concept called saddu dhara'i, which is staying away from those things which could lead to a bigger problem. Staying away from those things which could lead to a bigger problem. Okay, like Allah Azza wa Jalla and the Prophet ﷺ, they tell us that the look is the first step to zina, which is why we've been commanded to lower our gaze. And of course, look, when we talk about Islam, and our religion is a religion which is practical for all places and in all times. Okay, of course we know we have to communicate. We have to speak to the opposite gender, but do it in a way which is respectful to the other person. okay, that you respect the other person, that you respect the privacy, you respect the place, you ensure that there's nothing untoward, and ultimately you understand that Allah Azza wa Jal sees everything. And this is something we need to internalize. When we know that Allah Azza wa Jal, we've got angels on the right and our left who are writing everything down. They're writing everything down. And there's going to come a day when we stand before Allah Azza wa Jal, and our books are going to be presented before Allah Azza wa Jal, and everything is going to speak out against us. Our tongue, our hands, anything that we did and we carried out, which was haram or against our religion, there's going to come a day where we're accountable for everything. So again, we need to spend our life doing those things which are, like I said right at the start, which are pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jal. There's no point in having an amazing vision and an amazing year plan and an amazing 5-year plan when we're running the ISOC in a way which is unpleasing to Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay. Number 3, amana. This is a trust. This position that you have is a trust. You were there last year and next year you're going to be replaced, and this is an opportunity. And that's the 4th point that I wanted to mention. This is an opportunity for you. This is an opportunity to build your akhirah. To build your akhirah. And again, for me personally speaking, every part of your life has a distinct memory, or there's fun memories. And I can honestly say, university life and ISOC life, 4 years, those are probably the most fondest memories that I still have. The people that I was with, I'm still in touch with them today, and they're some of my closest friends. So look, this is an opportunity to really build your future. Those people that you'll be interacting with in a 5 years, 10 years time. More likely or not, they'll come from the university circle. Why? Because this is the time where you had the most fun. You enjoyed yourself, and there's no reason why ISOC and ISOC life won't or can't play a role in that. Okay, so it's an opportunity for you. It's an opportunity for you, inshaAllah. Okay, let me just go into the next slide. Following the Amir and its virtues. This is extremely important, and something that I found in the last few years. The way ISOCs are structured now, it's. I mean, again, I'm talking like when we were the part of the ISOC, the Amir was the Amir. The Amir had the final say. Obviously, you do shura, you get everyone's points on board, but you respect the Amir, or you respect the person who's in charge of that particular department or that area. Okay, and obviously it has a knock-on effect. If people see that you as the head of marketing or events or education, if people see that you're not respecting the Amir, then people won't respect you. Okay, does that make sense? When people see that you're not following the Amir, people won't follow you, and people won't respect you. And this is extremely important, and something that will come on to about advice and how to advise people. Of course, even the Amir, they need advice. Everybody needs advice, and we'll speak about how to advise and so on. But ultimately, look, the Amir and the Amira, of course, the head brother and the head sister, the president and the co-president, they are there for a reason. They've been, which however they got to that position, they are there to be followed. They're there to be listened to and to be the words to be taken. The Prophet ﷺ told us, if there were 3 people on a trip, they will appoint a leader from amongst them. This is why it's so important to have a leader. Why? When there's no leader, there's chaos. When there's no leader, there's no direction, there's no vision, there's chaos. So that's why it's extremely important to follow an Amir. Again, so for you as an ISOC member, ikhlas, sincerity. Again, I don't want to turn this into a lecture. I don't want to give you a lecture on sincerity and the intentions and the importance of it, but we all know the importance of being sincere, doing things for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. We know that the first people that will enter the hellfire is the scholar, the person who gave in charity, and the qari who would recite the Quran, and you know, again, they will be entered into Jannah. Why? Because their intentions were incorrect. They gave charity so people could say that you know, what a rich man. He recited the Quran, why? Not so he can please Allah, so that people can say what a beautiful voice he has. And you'll find that everything is null and void. Every good that they did was worth nothing. Why? Because their intention and their sincerity was corrupt. Again, so you know, we single out every action for Allah Azza wa Jal. Why? Because He's worthy of the action, and you love Him. We want to, you know, get to His. We want to get His reward. We want to remove ourselves from the hellfire. And again, achieving ikhlas, you know, this is practical. I'll send you the slides. But essentially, look, you know, like I said, you know, I've touched upon it. Do one act of worship, no matter how small, every day, so that no one knows apart from you. Frequently say La ilaha illallah. There's no God. There's no deity worthy of worship except Allah. That's how you know, and internalize it. What am I saying? What does it mean? Understand the benefits of ikhlas. Understand the consequences of having no ikhlas. Like I mentioned, what are the consequences? The example that I gave. Purify your heart, which I'll touch upon. Make dua for ikhlas. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to grant you sincerity. You know, understanding your actions are meaningless without ikhlas, and know why Allah is worthy of worship. Okay, and appreciate. Look, point number 9, extremely important. You know, when you're in the public spotlight, people will praise you. People will say, you know, mashallah, what a, you know, good brother, good sister. They're doing really good work. Whether you like it or not. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he would always make a dua, Allahumma la tu'akhidni bima yaqulun waghfir li ma la ya'lamun waj'alni khayran mimma yadhunnun. He would say, oh Allah, don't take me to account for what they're saying. Don't take me to account for all these good things that they're saying. Allahumma la tu'akhidni bima yaqulun waghfir li ma la ya'lamun. And forgive me for those things that they don't know. So those people that are praising you, you're asking Allah Azza wa Jalla to forgive you for those things that they don't know. Why? Because you know that you have shortcomings. You know, you have faults, there's problems, you have issues. وَجَعَلْنِي خَيْرًا مِمَّا يَظُنُّونَ. And make me better than what they think. SubhanAllah, that's an amazing dua. Okay, and make me better than what they think. So, Ya Allah, these people are praising me. Fine. Forgive me for those things that they don't know. Good. But make me better than what they're saying I am. Okay, so you're and this is a dua that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu made. Okay, so you're covering yourself, you're protecting yourself. Naturally, when you're in this position, people will be praising you. People will, you know, be speaking about you. So always ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to protect you and not to hold you account for those things that they don't know. Okay. Heart therapy. Again, these are things that I wanted to include. Why? Because they're really important. And this is the crux of you as a person. This is the crux of you as an ISOC member, as an ISOC committee member. You know, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna fil jasadi mudghah," that in your body there's a morsel of flesh. That if this morsel of flesh is sound and safe and secure, everything else is likewise. Everything else is safe and sound and secure. But if this morsel of flesh is corrupt and it's, you know, it's bad and it's evil, then the rest of your body will be likewise. And he said, "Ala wa hiya al-qalb." And he said, this morsel of flesh is the heart. This is your key to success, having a pure heart. Pure heart with yourself, with Allah Azza wa Jalla, and with those people around you. Okay, so how do you achieve a sound heart? Very quickly, self-awareness. Look at what symptoms you have. Look at what problems you have. What is it? Is it envy? Is it showing off? Is it, you know, work on your illness? You know, there's plenty of du'as. Fortress of a Muslim. Again, it should be in everyone's pockets. It should be with everyone. You know, even on your phone, there's apps. It's called Fortress of the Muslim. If you haven't come across it, loads of du'as from the Sunnah about every situation in your life. Every, you know, before you eat, before you drink, you know, when you seek counsel, istikhara, all the, you know, common du'as that you need are in there. Nourish the soul. You know, the best source of medication is the Quran. Have a routine of adhkar. Remember your morning and your evening adhkar. Fast on a Monday, fast on a Thursday. All, like I said, do something which is special. And why you'll find everything falls into place. If your salah is in place, everything else is in place. Okay. Islamic knowledge, again, really important. Something that you as an ISOC committee member should have the basics. And you don't need to be a scholar. No one's telling you to be a scholar. No one wants you to be a scholar. Okay, but you should have for yourself have that core basis of knowledge that you need to have. So the pillars of Iman. What's the pillars of Iman? Islam. Basic fiqh. How do you pray? How do you do your wudu? How do you fast? And so on. Dealing with shubuhat, doubts. Learn how to do da'wah. How do you respond to an atheist and so on. And again, that's something for your plan, your year plan. Maybe this is something that you could include. Shura, consultation. Why is this important? Prophet sallallahu alaihi Allah Azza wa Jalla, he says, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, and consult them with your affairs. وَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ, and once you've made that firm resolve, put your trust in Allah Azza wa Jalla. Put your trust in Allah Azza wa Jalla. So consult, number one. Once you've made your decision, announce your decision, and then have tawakkul in Allah Azza wa Jalla. Put your trust in Allah Azza wa Jalla, because ultimately He's the one who's going to give you success. He is the one who's going to give you success. Okay. Okay, good. So again, important the benefits of why should you consult. That's what shura is. Why should you consult others? And even when we look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was the best of leaders. He was the leader of leaders. But Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said, I never saw anyone consult his companions more often than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, more often than the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when you see this, then you think, hang on, this was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was consulting. He was asking, what do you think about this? What do you think we should do? How do you think we should do it? And there's benefits for this. You'll see things from different angles. Sometimes we might have a blinkered view or a certain direction that we've been programmed, but taking people's views on board, you'll see things from different angles. You'll make a more informed decision. You can best use people's contributions and ideas. You might think that's a really good idea. That is genuinely a brilliant idea. So let's run with it. You involve everyone. So you give people importance, and you make people more convinced and motivated when the ideas are considered. Again, really important points for why you should consult. Extremely, we've spoken about the Amir. Yes, of course, the Amir, he has he should have the final say and the decision. But Shura is part and parcel of it. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the best Amir sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he would consult his companions more than anyone else. More than anyone else. Not that he needed to, but for these reasons. For these reasons. Okay, how to make shura based on the ayah, based on this ayah, consult with them. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. Okay, consult with them on affairs, and then once you've done that, then إِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Then once you've made that resolve, once you've made that decision, once everyone's come together and you say, okay, guys, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to resolve this is the decision, tawakkal ala Allah. Have that trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. Put your trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, because success is ultimately with Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, good. Last two slides. Nasiha, advice. No ISOC is going to be perfect. Okay, you always have to take advice on board. Always, extremely important. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ad-din al-nasiha, ad-din al-nasiha, ad-din al-nasiha." 3 times. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam repeats something, just like the man who came up to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, "Awsini, advise me," and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La taghdab, don't get angry," and he said again, "La taghdab," 3 times. Again, it shows the importance of what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying. So he said, "Ad-din al-nasiha." This religion is advice. Giving advice to those people around you, giving advice to those leaders, giving advice. And I've said advice has to be sincere. You can't be advising people because there's an ulterior motive, or you just want to get one over them. No, advice is genuine, sincere. It should be private. Okay, it should be private and it should be constructive, not destructive. Okay, extremely important. And finally, stay humble. This is extremely important as well, and that's why I included it right at the end. Right at the end. And this statement summarizes what humility is. Okay, you know, التواضع أن تقبل الحق من كل من جاء به وإن كان صغيرا. Humility is that you accept the truth from anyone who brings it, even if they're young, even if they're lower than you. فمن قبل الحق ممن جاء به سواء كان صغيرا أو كبيرا وسواء كان يحبه أو لا يحبه. And whoever accepts the truth from whoever brings it to him, whether they're young or whether they're old, whether you love that person or whether you hate that person, then فهو متواضع, and that person is humble. ومن أبى, and whoever rejects this advice and whoever doesn't take this advice that this person is giving, i.e. that person isn't humble. ومن أبى قبول الحق, and whoever rejects the truth, تعاظما, you know, out of haughtiness, out of thinking that it's too big, out of arrogance, فهو متكبر, then that person is arrogant. That person is arrogant. So this is something extremely important. Stay humble. Stay humble in everything that you do, because Allah Azza wa Jal, ultimately we're doing everything for His sake and for His sake alone. So when we're arrogant, when we have pride in what we're doing, when we're not humble, these are all things which could spoil our deeds, And that's everything that I wanted to present. I'm going to stop sharing and hand it over to you guys. Is there anything that any general questions, any comments, any, I'll leave it to you guys, inshallah, for the next couple of minutes. We've got about 6 minutes. Anything that you found beneficial from the session. Like I said, you've got my email address. I'll get Sister Nusayba, those of you who know her, the sister who coordinated this. I'll get the presentation to her, inshallah, and you can take what you want from it, inshallah. Before I leave, or before anyone leaves, I want to show you something that we're currently working on. And you probably saw from the slides that there was British Muslim students, or the logo of British Muslim students. And you're probably thinking, what is British Muslim students? So British Muslim students is something that we've been working on for the past couple of years as a masjid, as Green Lane Masjid. So as you guys know, or you might not know, we've been helping ISOCs over the past 2 years. And let me quickly share a presentation. This won't take more than a few minutes. I just want to show you. So this is what we've been doing. Pre-COVID, we've been organizing lectures across the country, khutbahs. We've been Discover Islamic support. At that time, we were dealing with a number of universities. We have speaker tours. We had speaker tours with people from around the world. And then COVID struck. We carried out a lot of things online. We engaged in over 1,000 students. We had a number of events, lectures with a number of ISOCs. We arranged speakers, international speaker tours, online speaker tours. We organized Tabiyah workshops. We had Da'wah training workshops. So even over the COVID period, we were doing regular things for ISOCs online. And inshallah, the plan going forward, I'll touch upon the plan going forward, inshallah. But this is just a summary of what we've been doing over the last year. And then international speakers, alhamdulillah, we've got a lot of contacts with these speakers. So we even teamed up with FOSIS. So as part of FOSIS Discover Islam Week 2021 lineup, we provided speakers for them. For the Discover Islam Week lectures. There's been a lot happening. Also, chaplaincy is something that we're focusing on, university chaplaincy. So I'm a Muslim chaplain at the University of Birmingham, and this going forward is something that we really want to focus on, helping universities get a chaplain in who's going to be there for them. what we find is, universities will have Muslim chaplains, but they're not very engaging, or they're not very accessible to students. So this is something that we've been doing. You don't need to see my face again. Okay, good. So that's just a brief summary of what's happened last year. What I want to share with you now is what we're planning and formalizing, which inshallah will be launched this year. So for this academic year, we're launching a brand called British Muslim Students. So officially it's run by GLM, but it's a standalone organization. It's a standalone organization which we're launching this year, inshallah. And this is for you as the ISOC committee. Okay, this is for you as a resource for ISOCs, And something that we say is, you as an ISOC, you don't need to, it's up to you whether you want to access any of this. You could say we don't want to access anything. It's fine. You don't need to sign up to anything. It's not like a membership that we want you to be part of. Everything here is free. You don't have to pay for anything. Okay. So this is whatever you think you can utilize and use. Get in touch, and we'll offer those services that you say that we'll offer. So I just want to quickly go through. It's a few slides. The vision is to engage with and empower the future generation of Muslims. That's our vision. That's what we want to do. How are we going to achieve that? A number of things: constant learning, character development, services, and mentoring. Okay. I'm going to fly through this because I know you guys have been sitting for a long time. If you want me to go through this, or system is able to go through this video ISOC separately in detail, we can. But I'll just give you an overall overview of what this is. So what we want to do is, we want to provide you with a resource. So, constant learning, if you want weekly classes, we can arrange a speaker to deliver weekly classes. If you're a local ISOC, we can, send a speaker to you. If you're a national ISOC, i.e. you're not based in Birmingham, then, we might know people or students of knowledge or imams in your locality who we can send to you. If you want some of, our speakers, that are, Birmingham based, then we can have online sessions with you. But again, it's open. So, there's da'wah training, there's sister circles, there's structured courses, there's weekly classes also. Character development. So this is something that something that we really feel that ISOCs can do with, it could be things like retreats, whether it's in a masjid or whether it's, we book out an external venue, short courses, it could be tarbiyah workshops. Like I said, it could, as a one-off, we could send someone to your university. If it's something regular that you want, then we could do those sessions online. But again, tarbiyah is best when it's face-to-face. Services. So this again for you as the ISOC is look, it's something that you can tap into. It's free of charge. There's no strings attached, and that's something that we're really focused on. It's not an organization that we're setting up where we want you to sign up and you sign your life away. It's nothing like that. It's whatever service that you see that you think, okay, alhamdulillah, this is something that we can tap into. We can support you in exhibitions. I don't know if you come across Exhibition Islam. So that organization is run by us. It's run by Green Lane Masjid, Exhibition Islam. It's been around for about 20 years now. We've taken over the exhibition company. So we run that. There is a charge for that actually. For the exhibitions, there is a charge because it's a separate organization. But everything else, it's chaplaincy services. Get in touch with us. Will help you either find a chaplain or speak to the university about the why having a chaplain who is linked with the students is extremely important. Reverse support, again, we have a in-house organization called Islamwise who focus on supporting reverts. We can help you with your organization, planning, social campaigns, discover Islamic funding. So we've got a pot of money that we have for ISOC. So you apply for the funding and you can support your ISOC, whether it's I don't know, ordering food, ordering exhibition. So that's something that we can do, and speaker and khatib booking. Mentoring, again, committee training. What I'm doing now, that's one of the things that we're doing, and work experience. So as a masjid, as Green Lane Masjid, we have a number of areas, departments. Even if you wanted to come to the masjid and learn about certain areas and departments and how things are run, we've got over 40-50 activities that we do. Green Lane Masjid is not your typical masjid, in that it's alhamdulillah, we've got obviously we have the Salah and Ramadan and Tarawih and everything else, but it's a holistic masjid. We provide things for the poor. We've got a youth department, we've got a tarbiyah department, we've got an education department, we've got a da'wah department, we've got a social welfare department, we've got a media department, we've got a marketing department. It's a massive organization. So again, we can offer those services, and this is just a rough timeline. So we're saying August, September community training, and then we launch all the other services. So that's just again something very. I just wanted to discuss it with you guys. Again, reach out to Sister Nusayba if you want more information on BMS, British Muslim Students. Inshallah, feel free to reach out to her. Feel free to reach out to me. I've given you my email address. Inshallah, and this is something that you'll probably see coming up. We're just working on the website now. Inshallah, and it's something that we're passionate about, and it's a service that really we want to offer any ISOC that want it. Okay, any ISOC that want to tap into the service, inshallah, the service is for you. Inshallah, 8:03, alhamdulillah, just on time. Jazakumullah khair for attending. I hope you benefited. If there was anything that I've said that was wrong, please forgive me. And like I said, if there's a follow-up, if you want to follow up with anything, email me, inshallah. And I hope to see you all soon. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.